Hey fam, what's going on? This is Jessica Pickens. Welcome to Pickens Realities, our blended family truths podcast.
Right. So, unfortunately, not unfortunately, do you think that all of you all kind of like took a downward spiral a little bit after that happened?
After my brother died?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for me, I don't know how to explain it. Is that an absolutely traumatizing event and experience? Yes. I think there was so much going on in my life at that time because I was a single mom. I had moved back to Carbondale, had just moved back to Carbondale from Chicago because things didn't work out with Jalen's dad. Jalen was 3. While it was completely a very huge traumatic event, I couldn't afford to spiral because I felt like if I had allowed myself to spiral, I would have never recovered. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
I had to make myself press through that life-changing event in a way that made sure I could hold it together for my son.
You were the one that found him?
Me, my mom, and Jaylen was actually with us.
Simultaneously, all of y'all were
We
together?
were together.
Okay.
We were together.
Was he living it on his own at the time?
Or? No. My mom had moved to Springfield, oddly enough, to start her own lobbying business. So, mom had moved from when I was pregnant with Jaylen, I had moved to Chicago because his dad was up here, and I was up here for 4 years. That did not work out with his father. I moved back to Carbondale because Teresa and Walter were there. They were my spiritual parents, and I was trying to get myself back together. Like it was a rough 4 years for me. So the time and the things that I went through while living up here just were not. It was not a healthy experience. But my mom had moved up here after I did because she had a job opportunity and because I was here and Jaylen was her first grandbaby, and so she was up here. And she had actually then had an opportunity to start doing consulting and lobbying on low income energy issues. So after I moved back to Carbondale to get myself together and I wound up getting back in school, Robert had followed mom. So he wound up here in Chicago with mom. Cause I had to move in with her for a minute when things didn't work out with Charlie and I before I got my own place back. Jaylen and I moved in with her and Robert. So there was just a lot of, trying to, and then, so Robert was with her, but, and he had, he said he was going to, he was driving down to Springfield because, Carbondale, because at one point he thought he had a son. And so he was going down to connect with this young lady who was saying that her child was his son. And he disappeared for a couple of days. We didn't know what was going on. And we found out. So then actually, because he had an insurance card in his wallet, they wound up calling who he previously worked for, who then got in touch with my mom. Well, he had got stopped by the police and he was having his first manic episode and they sent him to a mental institution. He was diagnosed as being bipolar. And so that was the first time that we were made aware of his mental health issues. And so that was going on with Robert now. So he's in the facility in Southern Illinois on involuntary hold from being arrested. Thank God there were police that recognized he had mental health issues, because it could have went way left, and it didn't. But so my mom moved from Chicago to Springfield while this was going on. And I transitioned and moved from Chicago back to Carbondale. And so she had a place in Springfield. Well, for Christmas, she came to Carbondale to spend Christmas with Teresa and I. Robert didn't want to come. And so we had been through, after I had moved. So there was a lot that kind of went on between the time when he was diagnosed as being bipolar, and like I was back in Carbondale, I had gotten back in school. I was really trying to grow in my relationship with Christ, trying to get myself together after having gone through, bouts of dealing with alcohol and drug abuse myself because of what I'd been through in the city and how I was dealing with my depression and dealing with where I was in life. There was a lot that I went through in those 4 years. From after I had Jayla, I didn't, while I was pregnant, I didn't, he was healthy, thank God. There was none of that, but because of things not working out and just the level of stress that I had after having Jalen and looking up, and I'm with his father, but it was not what our relationship was not what I wanted to be. And that was never supposed to be my life. I was never supposed to be a single mom. I was never I had worked hard. Like after I went through what I went through and not having my dad, it horrified me to now have a child where I was putting that child in the same predicament where he could potentially, his dad would not be in his life on a day-to-day regular basis. But in spite of everything I tried to do to see if we could be a family and wanted it to work towards marriage and be a traditional family sort of situation,
It just wasn't it.
it just was not. It just was not. And Charles and I have a very good, we're cool now, right? But we were young then. I was 21 when I had Jalen. He was 22, 23. But like my dad, he chose what he chose, and he wanted to live his life on his terms, and those terms were not okay with me. I was not going to stay in a relationship where choices were made that you were putting things over your son and I, and choosing other people and things and lifestyles that jeopardized us and our family unit. That was not okay for me. So getting back to your foundational question, did all of us, was that a huge, Teresa and I did not, we while obviously losing our brother was extremely traumatic, we were in a different place, number one, quite frankly, in our relationship with Christ. And number two, my parents, it was their child. It was their son. And I think from my dad, and we talked about it once or twice. And again, my dad was not a man that talked much. He was a man of few words. But he admitted to me that he internalized the guilt of Robert's death in a way that impacted his health and his mental health and his physical health tremendously. He knew that Robert not having a dad.
I don't want to say his fault, but
No,
he knew it was
he knew that there was culpability. Parents have an obligation and a responsibility to be parents. Kids don't ask to be here. You didn't ask to be here. I didn't ask to be here. Kids don't ask to be here. People do what they do. You have sex, you can make a baby. You wind up finding yourself being a parent. You have an obligation to this little person that you created that is now a human being and a life here on this planet. Some people choose to recognize that and take on that responsibility and do what they can and do what they should in the best way they know how, which should include, now at this point, now you got a choice to make. Am I going to understand, at least, even if you don't know, if you didn't see it? I didn't see it. I didn't, I didn't see what being a mom was and having parental responsibilities the way that once I had Jalen is when the light bulb went off with what I did not have in my mom as far as parental responsibilities. I will say my mom loved us, no doubt. And she did what she could, but there were not the parental responsibilities. When you get this own little person that belongs to you, and you synthesize and you think about the full-on responsibility of what that means, it's a whole human that is relying on you and your decisions and what you do that can impact. I won't say, and in some people's cases, make or break. It depends on the child, right?
Yeah.
Some are strong enough to make it regardless. That's me. My mom says it to this day. She looked me in my face and told me, I knew that you were strong enough. You were going to make it regardless. My mother said that
But
to
that'd
me.
be crazy because, like, dang. What
You
are
know,
you talking about?
well, that's why I struggled so long with the anger and the hurt and the resentment towards my mom. And crazy enough, I had to deal with the fact that I had more anger and resentment towards her because she was there than I did towards my father for a minute, who wasn't there. Where some people may feel like that's like backwards.
Should be the opposite.
You know what I mean? But it's hard to hold
But I feel
somebody
like
accountable
that's
for
like
something
in the
that,
same area of like you come home and get mad at everybody else in your household because something that's going on at work.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. And so did all of us suffer tremendously behind my brother's death? Absolutely 100. Do I think my father suffered the worst? Whoo, that's a close race between my mother never recovered.
Oh yeah, I know.
She never recovered. My mom is still alive. And I am grateful my mom is still here. My mom has had cancer 4 times. 4. Not a recurrence. Not 4 different episodes of cancer. My mom never recovered professionally. My mom is brilliant. You know, she is a brilliant person. And my brother's death sucked the life out of my mother to a large degree. Her heart never recovered. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, and I'm not saying that people should ever, you know what I'm saying? That's not something
but you're not supposed to bury your children.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying it like it's something that anybody should easily bounce back from. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying she's just literally,
yeah.
It was not something that she was thriving for a minute, you know what I'm saying? But she never reached the full, what I believe, my mom never reached the full potential. She was not able to she wasn't able to take a step back and reassess and rebalance and regain her footing to continue on a path of becoming and doing all that God had in her for her to come and do because of my brother's death. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. So, okay, let's reel it back to what you were talking about a little bit ago with Charlie and how you moved up here trying to make things work, and he chose what he chose, right? So did you choose to deal with certain men because you feel like they reminded you of your dad? Like
it wasn't intentional.
So was the chase for love something that drove your relationship?
Oh, absolutely. And I just, my best friend, You know, your TT, she used to be like, oh, God, girl, you get on my nerves. You
I
fall in
can
love
hear
in
it now.
2.5 seconds. Like, Jesus, what is wrong with you? You don't even know this cat. Like, what are you talking about? Right? Like, what?
She's so
And,
funny.
and it just, I have always been a relationship person. I have always been one, you know, it just is who I was. And but seeking love and relationship because I wanted family, yeah, you know, it just from, I mean, I was in a 4-year relationship at the age of 11, which is crazy. Like my first boyfriend when I was
Honestly,
11,
it's
I was
not
in a,
even that crazy because if you think about it, we done all been in 4-year relationships
not when
by the
you're
age of 11, but we wasn't hanging out with them outside of school. The relationship was happening. We couldn't wait to get back from summer break, child. I can't wait to see my man get back from summer
no,
break.
not when you're 11, Marche.
Mom,
It
my
could
first
afford.
boyfriend was in kindergarten. I had my first kiss in kindergarten.
What?
And this to this day, that young man is in my message request. Oh my gosh, you're still so beautiful. And he looked like a,
Okay, that well, I was
you know what
in
I'm saying?
an inappropriate level of relationship for the age 11 for 4 years. Period. I mean, that just is not to me. That like I can't, you know. As we both look back, like what is going on in the background? Sorry, y'all. Real life happening right now while there's noise happening in the background.
Become a ghost. No, I'm kidding.
The did not having my father in my life lead to my desire to seek relationship young and early? Absolutely. Did it seek to did it lead to me desiring what I didn't get from my dad from guys in relationships? 100%. Was it in an unhealthy manner? Absolutely. Because the things that I should have gotten from my father by way of affirmation and confirmation and love in a proper father-daughter relationship, you know, I was looking for that now from someone who was not my dad, but I would view them with the level of obligation and in respect like they were my, when it was a guy. You're not my father. But there was just some inappropriate, it was just inappropriate, man, because I was looking for someone to make up for what I did not get from my dad.
So do you feel like, let's fast forward to my dad. Do you feel like you forced my dad on Jalen because you saw the relationship with your dad and the relationship with his dad? Does that make sense?
Well, I don't know if that's the right word. I don't know how, you know, I think I get what you're trying to ask, but we were married. So,
I mean, in 90 days.
you know, no,
So,
agreed. But again, like we've talked about, I did not have the knowledge back then. Had I known, you know, it wasn't that I was trying to force. It was, okay, we're a family now. This is your responsibility. And I did that. That was inappropriate. It was a very wrong decision to think that was supposed to happen automatically out the gate and kind of organically when that's not how it was. That's just not the truth. Mm-hmm. I did not know and did not understand, one, that there are different phases in a blended family of, one, I did all that I could to make sure, like, which used to frustrate your dad actually in the beginning, as far as like I went way overboard making sure that there was opportunity for Jaylen to still have relationship with his father, his biological father, with Charles. And even though we didn't live in the same cities, you know, it took work, right? So when you live 3 hours away from your kid,
it took work,
or 5 hours,
you
Charles
doing most of the work,
and I did, right, and I did, and which frustrated your dad because in his opinion,
if
it
he
should have
wanted
been,
to, he would.
yeah, and it should have been on the other adult, not, you know, and it should have been on Jalen's, you know, bio dad of him. And again, different people are in different places, right? And so it was whew.
So how did it feel for you when Jalen got to a point where he asked his own dad, like, dang, can I come live with you? And he was like, no. How did that impact you
It
because
ripped
of
my
what you
heart
experienced with
out
your dad?
of my chest. It was, I don't know how to explain the level of hurt, disappointment, embarrassment, resentment, regret,
Do
all
you
of the
feel like
above
it was like
that
all of
I
the
had.
emotions that you felt when your dad when you got, you know, when you realized like your dad just chose what he chose, like the emotions that you felt when Jalen's dad did what he did, is that what you felt? Like when that young child, like, dang, like, you know what I'm saying? Or was it that and more, or was it just like, my child, man, like, why would I
No,
give this
it
to my
was, it
child?
was, it was, I mean, it was, that's why it was so heartbreaking and difficult, because I, it was heartbreaking and difficult because I knew how much Jalen wanted to be with his dad, and that he had a hole in his heart for his dad the same way that I had had a hole in my heart for mine. Now, at the same time, where I was off and I was amiss, if you will, is that, okay, so to go back to your earlier term, I kept trying to force the fit regarding the relationship with Tyrone and Jalen, hoping that
It was the fairy tale
that
ending.
that Tyrone was going to make up for, become the father figure and role that Jalen needed. I knew that Tyrone was the man in that, you know, who he was from a character perspective and how he took care of his kids, his family, you know, how, you know, his decisions were just totally different than anything I had ever seen. I had never seen a man sacrifice things that he wanted or the lifestyle that he wanted for himself to step up and fulfill the responsibilities of being a father, because that was the right thing to do.
I know that's right, Dad. Clock it. Okay.
Now, does, you know, is there another side to that? Yeah, that's a whole nother episode, because you're, that has presented other issues for he and I, and actually, you know, to his fatigue as an adult, because he feels like he has sacrificed his entire life for other people, so he never really got to do what he wanted to do for himself because of decisions that he had made. But he's a ride or die when it comes to, I made this decision, and this is what come, these are the responsibilities that come along with the decision. I had never seen that. And so that I feel like that's one of the reasons why, yeah, again, to your term, I used to try to force the fit with the relationship with your dad and Jalen, because I knew that those characteristics, that foundational characteristic, which I did not see in my dad, you know, and I had not seen in Jalen's dad, I hadn't seen in any man I had ever been around, quite frankly. Your dad had those qualities. And I wanted Jalen to learn and understand those characteristics and those qualities so that he could get what he wasn't going to get from his grandpa, from his dad. You know, he wasn't getting it from any place else. I can't get, you know, it, and I'm a female, I'm his mom. He saw those characteristics in me. He knew I was by his side. He knows it's been, Jalen will say to this day, you know, Mom, it's always just been me and you. You know what I mean? But he needed to see that in a man. He's a man. He needed to see that in a man and what that meant for a man to decide to stick to their responsibilities, even when what you originally planned did not pan out.
Yeah.
But for Jalen, his hurt of his biological dad not making that choice for him, and his hurt because he felt like I was still prioritizing your father and you all over him, all of that got in the way originally and clean up until the last few years of him being able to receive from your dad in a way that helps him see and understand. You know, once he had his own children, he could begin to see and understand differently. And that's typically what it is, man. Once you get your own kids, once you have your own kids and you know, are in a way where you are trying to figure out parenthood for people that choose to do so, because some people choose not to.
Yeah. Some people choose not to, but watch from the sidelines like, oh, yeah, your mama's got it, so yeah, right.
But those people, most of the time, I would say, you'll have to answer for that. Now, I had questions for my dad. And because and I could have chosen to not speak to my dad. I could have chosen to do my dad how he did me when I was a kid. Spotty, flighty, not dependable. Yeah, I love you, but not really. My actions don't show it.
Do you feel like your dad came back around, or like how did that even happen?
Well, it's not that he came back around. He never left. It was, my dad he was not consistent. And he was not a parenting factor.
Right. So I'm saying, like, as you got older,
it was me. I chased him. When my dad went to prison for 2 years, crucial years of my life from when I was 11 to 13. We talked to him one time in those 2 years. That was horrifically devastating for me. And I didn't understand why. Now, after he got out, from what I understand, he told me he didn't. I think it was him or my mom that told me he just didn't want us to see him like that. And no, man, I needed you. I don't give a fuck. I needed my dad. I don't care if he was in Antarctica,
right,
on an iceberg. Don't care if I could just hear your voice. So the one time he called, I had started dating the guy that was 5 years older than me. I'm 11 years old. And I'm telling him about it. And he then starts to try to parent me over that phone call. That was the one time. And I told him basically, kick rocks, dude. Where you been? You don't get to try to, now that I got somebody that I'm excited because I feel like somebody's paying me attention and loves me. Now, what he was saying was correct. He was like, he's what? What? No, what? And I was like, excuse, what? Who you talking to?
right.
Dude, you ain't been here.
I wonder how that made him feel hearing that. We'll never know. But
my dad, when my dad came home and then he started working and then he started driving trucks, I was persistent in chasing my dad for a relationship. I chose that because I still had a hole in my heart for my father.
And do you feel like after all this time, like, do you feel like you've actually, like, completely forgiven him?
I've let it go, man. I had to accept the reality of this was my life.
Letting it go and accepting reality doesn't mean you forgive people.
There's nothing to hold it does for me. Yes, have I forgiven? I mean, he's deceased. And so it's like, what am I going to do? Continue to stress myself about something that I can't change, he can't change. He's no longer even alive. I don't want negativity and bad feelings for what? To make myself sick? Have I had to, and again, it's been more of and this sounds crazy, but it has been more of a struggle releasing and letting go of my hurt and my anger and upsetness and resentment towards my mom than my dad, which is nuts because she's the one that was there and kept us and fed us and clothed us and made the decision to keep us, even though there was a lot of things I don't agree with. She was still there every day.
Do you feel like it, takes so long for that to happen because it's easier to blame your mom than it is your dad?
Yeah, she and I have talked about that. Me and Teresa have talked about that a lot. It was just crazy. You can't hold somebody accountable for something they didn't do. My dad didn't do nothing. He wasn't there, meaning I can't so I can hold him accountable for the one thing he did, which was not be there. Mm-hmm. So it sounds kind of crazy, and I reverse. I've been like, man. So this is that whole scenario has been a difficult thing for me anyway, because I'm like, well, I have had conversations with myself, going, it's crazy that I hold my mom more accountable, the person that was there and was taking care of me. I'm more upset with her about the way that the things that she didn't do. And it's not that I wasn't upset with my dad.
See, this kind of scares me, though, because it's like, my situation with me, Isabel's non-existent donor, and,
he
our
exists.
stuff.
He's just not in
he's a
her
non-existent
life.
donor. But, never mind. It's weird because it's like, for me, I'm always going to keep receipt. That's why I don't like sitting talking on the phone. Like, if you call me, no, like, let's text so my baby can see when she gets to a point, like, this is not your fault. I've tried. This is what it is.
The thing.
But, like, it scares me because, like, for you, your mom is there. She's doing what she can, but it's like,
yeah,
it wasn't enough.
Here's why it wasn't enough, though. And my mom admitted to this, even the one, which we still need to, I know we need probably we only did round one of the podcast with me, mom, and Teresa.
That wasn't even a round one.
It wasn't.
That
it was
like
just very light. Yeah, it was. We need to just keep peeling the onion back. But the reality is that, again, my mom being a white female, raising 3 biracial kids who are half black at a time, again, y'all, it was not at all socially acceptable. Mm. And to know inside of you that you were meant to be, you have all these gifts and skills and talents inside. And my mom is like the bomb.com. Like I just was the work I do now, I'm pivoting to. And one of my new clients is like, man, I remember working with your mom, and man, then here you come. What did she call me? The seed or the pod or something, basically saying, that they know I got my skills. My consulting and lobbying skills, come from my mom. My mom was, man.
For sure.
And so when you have stuff inside of you that you supposed to leave on this earth, but you got these 3 mixed babies over here that kind of, and you trying to, my mom already felt, again, she had been ostracized by her family because at first, of course, they disowned her because they thought she was nuts to be in love with a black man, because that's what it was. That's how deep the racism ran, man. You know what I mean? And so you done disown your family for a man that y'all are all googly-eyed and in love, and then you marry dude and stuff happens. Physical abuse, he was not faithful. Mm-hmm. Now you look up, you got 3 mixed babies, and you like, what the flim flam? Oh, yeah, no, bruh. And she made a choice. Some women choose to stay. My mom was like, yeah, no. Yeah, no, I can't.
Thought you had a friend.
But the outfall, that this is why you got to count the cost, y'all. You got to, this is real stuff. When you looking at marriage, when you looking at your first marriage, when you looking at blended family, and whether I was a single mom when I had Jayla, when you are creating other freaking human beings, this is, and again, we're people of faith, and this is what I believe. This is all why if you get married, don't have sex before you get married. The whole premise behind that is because this stuff has
You
real
can still be a single parent in a marriage. You can still be a single parent in a marriage.
Well, that, yeah, but that's another dynamic of, that's another issue to solve. That still is adults not accepting responsibility. So that's what it boils down to. Foundationally, you got to accept the responsibility for the decisions that you make and follow through if you want the healthy, the proper, correct outcomes. Otherwise, you are damaging people along the way.
That's why I don't understand baby mama, baby daddy drama. Like, oh, you're not doing. At the end of the day, it don't, like, somebody gotta assume the position and assume the role of, like, the responsible person. I'm not gonna sit and go back and forth with you about what you're not doing, because the kid's gonna grow up and see that for themselves. Have a blast with that. I'm gonna take care of mine, and it's gonna be what it's gonna be. So,
you know how I feel about it. I mean, that's, again, we talked about, that's why there was no way I was going to sit and not let that's why I told your dad, hey, yo, you're going to have to go get this right, relative to your mom, so that we could get going with figuring it out, because the kids suffer.
yeah.
At the end of the day, if you have children and you doing the clown, and you acting like you get to go run off and do what you want to do, and you can live your life how you want to live your life, you got whole human beings that you created who are suffering because you want to kick it, and you want to drink, and you want to party, and you want to sleep around. And now these babies is out here feeling like orphans, or feeling not loved. They don't have an example. They don't know that you can have healthy relationship because they've never seen it. And you're damaging your own kids.
Okay, so what do you say in this situation? I'll just use myself, whatever. Perfect world tomorrow, right? Isabel's dad decides to knock on the door. I want to be in your life. And he's there, but he's inconsistent. What do we do in my situation? Because, like, me,
how do you navigate that?
Right, because me personally, like, I'm at a point now, like, at first I was like, yeah, forget him, bump him, all that, right? But I got into a point where it's like, honestly, if that man decides that he wants to be in her life, I'll never be like, no.
I agree, you should not.
But within reason, because if you're gonna be, I would rather you, it's either you in or you're not.
But that's not okay. So
for my child, because that's gonna break her more than it's gonna help her.
Here's the thing. This is what I was saying. This is my opinion, and of course, you're an adult, and adults get to make their own decisions, even if it's inconsistent, as long as it's safe. Now, it's a totally different ball game if there's stuff going on that puts your child in jeopardy from a safety perspective. You know what I mean? If there's alcohol and drugs, or if whatever is going on to where the child is at risk, that's off the table. Yeah, no, bruh, not happening. But if it is the inconsistency factor and the jeopardy is your child being let down and hurt, that part is not on you. Because I will tell you this, I would have been even more resentful of my mom had she said my dad couldn't see us, when, even though he was inconsistent, if she had tried to put a block on that and I found out about it, woo. No bueno. And so as hard as that is, and then,
it'd be bogus, because it's like, in those situations, like, I've seen with peers when I was in high school, inconsistent parents, like,
yeah, but here's what's going to happen.
Kid grows up so fast.
But here's what's going to happen.
And they become the parent of the inconsistent parent. And that's not cool.
But that's just it.
That's not okay.
That's what's going to happen. There's going to come a point, and it happened with Jayla, where the kids start saying no. So there came a point where there was rockiness there. Right? There was inconsistency.
And now Jayla the daddy.
And
that's messed up.
But there came a point when he hit them preteens and early teens, and you look up and children get mature enough to go, yo, wait a minute, because now they see examples. They see they bonus parent being consistent. If they got one, could be if it's that situation. Like he saw him and Tyrone made him and it
Right, but at
button
least this
heads.
nigga here
But
every
but
day.
he saw he was there
Yeah.
every day. He
Yeah.
was at every game. He was a coach. He was so while they still wrestled with the relationship piece
struggle.
because we didn't start it out correctly, which we all now know on the back end. Y'all just God, I just cannot stress enough that learning lesson, right? But he saw him there. And he saw him be consistent. And he saw him putting in effort. So even though his heart, the love, the organic love, that was the struggle piece for them. But oddly enough, he knew by his actions what a responsible, consistent father looked like through his dad, Tyrone. And you start mimicking that. And you go, wait a minute, Negro, you can put your car roll up and down this highway as often as you so choose to let it. Your brain start going, wait a minute, your phone dial just like my phone dial. Because even if you can't get down here, you can call me every day.
But then
You call me every other day.
You gotta call me.
You know what I'm saying? And
like
so
I'm not the kid.
And so children, so I would say to you, even if Izzy's dad were to show up tomorrow and you allow that engagement, yes, allow it. Because even if it's inconsistent, in short order, as she starts to mature, kids know. And they start making their own decisions about, yeah, no, bruh. I will say from what I've seen.
I feel like God need to do a little bit more work on me.
Well, and he may.
So
and
I
we just gonna keep praying about it.
Soon,
right?
I know,
we just, but again, I will now it is one thing if there is, excuse me, if it is not a safe or healthy environment for the kid, like physical and or like if there's mental abuse, physical, obviously if there's stuff going on where the kids that's a non-negotiable,
like,
man.
Let me pick her up. No, honey.
Yeah, you gotta exactly. You gotta figure out the right way to navigate that path in a healthy manner and in a safe manner. And that just is what it is, because that's the other parent's own fault. If you 3-4 years down the road and now you got the light bulb going off and you want to try to, well, then you got to be willing to work to earn trust,
right?
And to prove that, hey, yeah, I'm for real. So that's fair.
So you were saying Jalen was looking at the fact that like basically his dad wasn't there, and now he got to a point of like, yo, like, this man is here.
I mean, they went through
their power struggle.
They went through, but not only that, they went through I didn't mean to cut you off. There was a time where Jalen's dad said to him, when Jalen was an early teenager, what my dad said to me when I was older.
In which way?
He had a conversation and basically told him, yo, I got a life, dude. I mean, and I'm not going, that and said it in a way that broke Jalen's heart.
That brings me to the question. Do you feel like, and these are only really things Jalen can really answer, but thinking about it,
coming to a podcast near you later down the road. Maybe
2025. Clock it. No. But what I wonder if, like, past like the power struggle that they were having, I wonder if he was building more resentment towards my dad because he was constant. Does that make sense? Like,
yeah, because he wished that was
that's
what his bio dad did. Yeah, and it's like pouring salt into the wound, man. So, there's a lot of dynamics that go into that. So the whole point being that, so Jalen basically felt like he had lost all parents, because he felt like he lost me because I was more dedicated to my husband, my new children, his bonus dad and bonus siblings, that all of that mattered more to me than him. He wanted to go to his bio dad. His bio dad was like, no, but he said no. He wanted to, but he was married at the time and he had his own issues going on. And his wife at that time was like, yeah, no, bruh. There's enough going on right now. So that's what led to that. And then him and Tyrone, just this power struggle because Jaylen is me on 25 million steroids. He want what he want, when he want it, how he want it. And he is a very adventurous, headstrong young man who, like I'm my mom on steroids, Jaylen is me on steroids. You know what I'm saying? DNA is real, y'all. It is real. And so when you
And
look
Nova about
at,
to be him on
woo,
steroids.
man, say
Because
that. And
Hari's
his
like
baby,
got the genius
Hari
gene.
is, yeah,
But
Hari
she
laid back. She
cool.
cool. Nova
Nova,
like,
but
if
they
you don't
always
get
say
up out my face,
that second,
and she's 3.
Yeah, Nova, that
She
baby
told me this
child.
morning, I done just Gigi brushed my teeth slow. Who brushed their teeth? Slow, Gigi. Slow. I'm like, and I'm fussing with a 3-year, and I'm like, oh my God, this little child is Jaylen. Oh my God. And so,
funny.
but you just, the impacts, the generational impacts, like for real, right? Like, so me not having my dad, I didn't have my grandparents on either side. You know what I'm saying? Like my mom's dad came to live with us when I was a teenager, but, and I know we've been, we got to get ready to kind of land the plane, as
Oh, we're
y'all
landing
say.
it after you say
But
this.
the family matters.
A lot.
And our thing, of course, is that blended families matter. Because when you find yourself in your encore family, you know what I'm saying? So however you had your original shot, for me, yeah, I was a single mom. Malachi's outside, y'all. I was a single mom. I tried to make it work with Jaylen's dad. I wanted to get married because I was a product. I was a child who grew up. My parents were divorced. My mom then raised us as a single mom. I did not want that for my child, for any of my children. I did not. But I couldn't go, man. I could not submit to subjecting myself and Jaylen to a lifestyle of daily unhealthy
Toxicity.
behaviors,
Yeah.
yes, and activities. Couldn't do it. So I found myself as a single mom. So if you're a single mom
Single
or
dad,
single dad, and
grandma,
if
auntie.
you've been divorced, if you've had a family and you've been divorced, and you still desire relationship that resulting in, or even if you don't get married, you still finding yourself in a blended family situation. And again, we gonna keep defining. We gonna do some stuff on live about that. Meaning, because I know blended family, like down south, y'all, blended refers to race. What we're talking about is 2 adults getting together and one or both of them have children from a previous relationship.
I said
Situationships for you. Yeah, yours was
I
a
just wanted to be
situationship,
touched and not have a kid. That's it. It wasn't a situation that we wasn't talking, none of that. I just wanted to be touched.
Hey. And so, but the reality is there are extremely long-term consequences to your actions and decisions. So don't take this stuff lightly.
Yeah.
Don't take this stuff lightly, because and your dad has said this, especially to the boys growing up. I know y'all too, but man, a 30-second decision can change the entire course and trajectory of your life.
Don't let a temporary situation make you make a permanent decision.
That one.
That's what he always said.
And so when you get to the gist of, just like, Dawson and Gabby are in college now. And I was telling that young man the other day, yo, bruh, hey, my preference is that even though, look, this is why you ain't supposed to have sex outside of marriage, because this stuff you mess around and again, a 30-second hot and heavy, whatever, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever your minutes worth of fun is, resulting in now you got a little human on the way. And the whole situation of what your life was looking like prior to your 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes of fun, it can be totally different.
And not saying that you will never succeed, that you'll never be great, but it'll be harder to get to where you're trying to go, because now you can't just move. Now you got to.
Well, you can, because some people choose to. Some people choose to then.
But if you
now
really
you got kids being
care
collateral
about
damage.
your kids, but in the older we grow, without our parents either or parent. The older you get, you can be 50 years old. You're still a child longing
You
for
are.
that relationship.
You are.
So with that being said, we're gonna land it. So, what's your fondest memory with your dad?
Um, it's from when he would come to the house. Okay, here's one. Me and Tyrone still. It's gonna make me cry. We still crack up about this. He was visiting us in Springfield because you know how he would come and spend the weekend or spend a week, and this is when his health wasn't that, because remember he'd be on the walker, and dad smoked until good God, he had
Yes.
heart issues, he'd had a quadruple bypass, all of this stuff, and he just refused, right? And of course we didn't smoke, none of that. And so there's two things that are my fondest memories. So first of all, remember, I don't know if you call, so he would sleep in Dawson and Gabby's room
Right.
when he would come visit. We had that bed in there, and so Dawson was Dawson had got up. We were weaning Dawson off of his bottle, we couldn't not giving him a bottle to go to sleep with, right? So dad was sleeping in Dawson's room. Dawson was in the crib, and Dawson was up crying because he wanted his bottle. We were trying to wean him off the bottle, man. And our doctor had told us very firmly, you just got to let him cry. Just let him cry. After 3, 4, 5 nights, it's going to be rough, but he'll get through it. He'll start sleeping through the night. Okay, fine. So Dawson was up crying because he wanted his bottle, but dad was visiting. He was sleeping there, and Dawson is crying, and we could hear it on the baby monitor. We're like, oh, man. So Dawson's crying, and all of a sudden you hear, shut up, sit down. So it was dad telling Dawson to shut up and lay down. And girl, but let me tell you, you ain't hear another peep out of Dawson. And he laid down and he listened to his grandpa buddy and he went right to sleep. That me and Tyrone were cracking up. You and your dad were cracking up so bad over that. We still laugh to this day. So that's like one of my, that was his grandpa moment. It wasn't exactly the grandpa moment that you look for, but it was hilarious. And that's one of my fondest memories. And the second one is dad just being dad. He was not always a man of honest words. And I will never forget, he was there visiting. I don't know if it was that time or a different time, but we had always asked him, go out on the back balcony or the front porch to smoke, because again, I didn't want him smoking, but dad being dad, he just, okay, do not smoke in the house. And I don't know if you remember that in Springfield, the house had like that whole house fan. So we would turn it on to let stuff, and people smoke, you can smell, it comes through your vents. You turn the air on and it was warmer. Girl, I was in our bedroom, which is on the other side of the house from where dad would stay. And dad was using the bathroom. And my father used to, when he would go to the bathroom and have his bathroom time, y'all, he needed to smoke. We would read magazines and he would smoke. Girl, I'm in my room and I smell the cigarette smoke in the house. And I'm like, no, this ninja didn't. And so, of course, dad gets done doing what he do. And we come out, dad, so you just gonna smoke in the house? I have asked you that me and we don't smoke. I can smell it. I don't know what you're talking about. You're a grown A man at this point.
Every time you turn, the clown paint starts getting more and more on his face.
And I was like, Dad, really? So I'm sitting there and I'm just asking him just to like be honest. Girl, he was like, I'm taking this to my grave. I don't care what he was like. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, Dad. So I'm like a grown woman with kids. So you just can't tell the truth and tell me that you just lit a cigarette in my house in the bathroom, spoke. Okay. He was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I just was like. And so after about 5 minutes of jousting, because you know how determined I had to give it up. He was like, nope, I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm crying.
I don't know what you're talking about. So, not your exact, but I appreciate the fact that when there were things like he came, when I graduated with my master's, he was there for my college. Actually, my college graduation from SIU, we had the celebration at him and Martha's house. when I finished my master's degree, which I don't know if you remember, you were younger, but
Mm-hmm.
when I got my master's degree, he was there. He
Mm-hmm.
came and he was there. And so the fact that he would come and we would give Martha a break and we wanted to spend time and he'd
Mm-hmm.
come, so I'm very grateful for that. I'm
Okay.
grateful for that.
And last but not least, what's one thing you'd say to him if he were still here?
I would just say that I love you and that him being present is enough. If that's all he had to give, then I would take that.
Hmm,
I've
that's
come
good.
to peace and come to terms with. Are there days when I wish I could pick up the phone and I could call my dad and go, what do I do? How do I handle this? Because that's what parents are supposed to be for. And I don't have that. And I don't have that in my mom, and I didn't have that in my dad. I call my sister. And that hurts even now. There are days when I just am struggling with being a responsible adult and you don't know how to handle something or the best way and you want some guidance. And parents are supposed to be that for their kids. Um, I've come to terms that that's not what I had. That wasn't the cards that I was dealt. So I would say to my dad that I love you and you being present and being here, even if you got nothing to say, I'll take that. That's enough.
That's nice. Well, thanks for telling us, you know, about your relationship with your dad and, you know, how that affected the things that you did in your life and the decisions that you made, especially when it came to your children. Um, yeah,
I want to make sure we leave some takeaways for our audience
mhm.
and folks that are watching. And I would just say, one, for the men who are fathers, if you are not a part of, and obviously this is for blended families, and so if you have children and whether you live with them or not, please understand that your decisions to be responsible and be there for your children each and every day will have lifelong consequences for your kids. If you choose you, which is your right, adults have a choice, right? And you can choose to live your life how you want it. Um, please understand that I would say 9 times out of 10, maybe there are some people that grow up and they don't look for or seek or desire an explanation when they come to the realization that their parents weren't what they could have and should have been for them. But please understand, and particularly for, it's all kids, man, right? All kids. But like for me, being a girl, not having that relationship with my dad really, really impacted me tremendously in seeking that love and attention and affirmation in unhealthy ways. And I also know that, for my brother, it had a different sort of consequential and devastating, it had a different type of devastating consequence as far as not having his dad be a staunch part of his life and teaching him how to be a responsible man or, just how to be a man. Right. And so I just really need people to understand this stuff is real and the kids are the ones who suffer. And that's like the foundational reason why we're sharing our experiences because of how our decisions as adults have impacted all of you and our blended family and all these different angles and all these different people. And as far as I'm concerned, I got to answer to Jesus for this one day. I know everybody doesn't believe that, and that's fine. People are free to believe what they want to believe. But this stuff is real, and it has real life consequences.
And it being a part of your child's life, especially my generation, being a part of your child's life is not always monetary. Sometimes your kids just need to know they love you
All
or
the
you
time,
love them,
they just need to know
you
that
know?
you love them.
And sometimes taking them to the park when you have no money
That's
and
right.
just being outside is good enough. Kids enjoy the simple things. So, yeah. Well, thanks for coming to our TED Talk. We'll talk to y'all later. No, I'm kidding. But thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for supporting. Like, comment, share, subscribe, turn our post
Oh, and
notifications on.
listen, we're gonna be dropping a survey because we want to hear from you all what you need. We are working on rebuilding the website and gonna be bringing more materials and resources and making them available on YouTube. And so be looking for the link. We'll actually drop a link so that you can subscribe, not just to the YouTube channel. Please do that because y'all know we hope that this is beneficial. We want to provide this information and continue to provide resources and information to you all. We need to be able to do that. So subscribe, please comment, please share. We're going to drop a link for a survey in this episode because we want to hear from you on what topics do you want us to cover. You will be seeing, or there will be opportunities coming up to join us live where you can ask questions through there. And then again, we have our website is now bfmacademy.org, and that'll be on the screen, but it's no longer jessicapickens.com. It's Blended Family. It stands for Blended Family Matters Academy, but it's bfmacademy.org. And we're revamping that, and we want to hear from you. And we'll be coming up. We'll let you know when we're going to get ready to launch kind of an updated version of the website that we want to make sure we're being very clear on what the purpose is, which is to provide the information and resources and community for other blended families out there so that you can learn from our mistakes and we can connect you all with resources that we've become aware of and resources that we can be to help other families heal and grow stronger, become resilient, and become blended and bonded on this path. As we discuss, blended family matters because blended families matter.
Ooh, y'all caught that? Hey! All right, we'll see y'all next time. Bye.
Peace.